Patrick Furlong, city engineer, here for a little bit. Hey, Patrick, welcome back to Kiel. How you doing this morning?
Great. Good morning. Thanks.
Now, we haven't had you in studio before, but you've been on the phone a couple of times. Okay, some late breaking news, if you will, pertaining to the city's consent decree, i.e. the deal with the federal government, the EPA, to rebuild our sewer system. It's a new company called Burns and McDonnell from Kansas City, Missouri. Tell us about that. Tell us about that process.
Yeah, they're new to the consent decree, the Shreveport consent decree, but they've been around for a long time doing this. First of all, I'd like to applaud Mayor Perkins for making this change. This is one of the first conversations I had with him. I remember he called me on a Sunday. I was floating down the Caddo River, and I didn't have his number programmed in my phone, and this was the first thing he wanted to discuss with me. And
where you said you're glad he did, were you unhappy with the company? What was the name of the company, guys? I forget.
Burns and McDonnell.
No, the old one.
What's it?
CDM Smith.
Were you said
the program has had challenges, and it's just time for a change, and I think we can do better than what we've been doing.
Before the mayor called you as you're floating on your way to Natchitoches, had you spoken to him? Had you or other people in your department made a suggestion? Maybe that old company's not doing the best.
In my first meeting with the mayor, it was discussed. It was basically my interview with the mayor the first time we met. It was discussed briefly, and then he followed up with a phone call to discuss it more in depth.
Let me ask you this, Patrick. CDM Smith, were they bidding on this every year? Was it they had to win this bid every year?
No, and it's not a bid. It's a selection process,
right.
And it's not every year. It's an established contract. And then we supplement it every year. So it's basically renewed every year.
And they did not, as I'm looking at the A&E committee meeting minutes, they were not one of the applicants that put in a proposal to continue.
That's correct. They did not submit. They could have. They made the choice not to submit.
Did you put them on notice that we're not happy with you? Did they know that you guys this wasn't working out?
No, I mean, our relationship was an ongoing conversation every day. And there was no termination or we didn't advise them not to submit. It was their choice not to submit, and
did they know they didn't have a chance, I guess is the blunt way to phrase that. Did they not submit a proposal for a renewal because they knew it was a long shot at best?
I can't say.
The new contract we're going to be paying, it looks like Burns McDonnell $6.5 million a year is what it looks like. What did we pay CDM Smith last year for the same work?
That 6.5, that's for 2019. We're gonna renew that contract in 2020.
Okay.
For the annual renewal,
which would be $10 million a year. Is that right?
We don't know exactly what it is. The contract in place right now, it's for the transition period. It's not a steady state operations, so it's not your typical annual contract.
Is that
what was CDM Smith paid for 2018?
It was around $10 million.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Is the amount we pay to the company that oversees this sewer work, is that fixed in the deal that we have with the feds, or is that something that's negotiable between Shreveport and the project manager?
Sure. The feds don't really fix the prices. They just tell you what you have to fix. You have to eliminate the sanitary sewer overflows, and then all the negotiations with the city.
There were a couple of other companies, one local, spelled B-A-L-A-R. I don't know the pronunciation.
Baylor.
Okay. And
Hunt, Geo, and Associates.
And that's a Louisiana company.
Yes, sir.
Why the out-of-state guys? Why are they the best guys?
What did they do that would be better than local folks?
Right. So all three firms made presentations to the A&E committee, and the Burns and McDonnell team, they really stood out in their expertise and their experience. And this is, as you know, it's a big deal for the city, a big investment, and we want to make sure we get the best team and do it right.
Why only three companies, though? I know that came up in the A&E committee that we should relook at this and try to get more people, reach out to more companies.
That's a good question. The information was out there. If people were interested in it, they knew about it.
Does the fact that it's a federal project have anything to do with that? Maybe major companies who this is their wheelhouse, so to speak, they go, federal project.
Well, no, I mean, the bigger companies, they focus on that type of work. It could be because we're in midstream and they're picking up the pieces from another company, and that's not an easy task.
The most recent, it started off, it was going to be $350 million to rebuild the city sewer system. The last estimate, I guess, was around $1.1 billion. Is that figure accurate? And if not, is it going to be higher?
No, that is an accurate figure. In hindsight, I should have given a range because it's still just an estimate. We don't know the final number. We have not evaluated all the phases yet. So I should have given more of a range just so that people aren't locked into that 1.1 billion. But based on the linear feet of pipe in the city and the type of work we've been doing and the bids we've been getting, 1.1 is a good ballpark estimate at this point.
Can you, and we're talking to Patrick Furlong, he's the city engineer, and I think you wear a lot of other hats too, but how are we paying for this? How are we paying for $1 billion? I know we had this phase in of our water bills 10 years ago maybe, and that's part of it. But that's not all of it, correct?
It's most of it.
Okay.
So we get loans, low interest loans from the state. That's a small part of it, and then the majority of the funding is from revenue bonds, which are funded by the water and sewer bills.
Okay, and the phasing up of our water bills, does that end next year, or do we have 2 more years of rates going up?
I believe it's a couple more years.
Okay. So the funding for it, you feel comfortable with it? We have it in place. We're not going to need to go out and ask for any more money from the public.
Right. We're comfortable with it at this point. We're always evaluating it and looking at it, and things can change. Prices can go up. Prices can go down. The financial market can change. The interest rates have been very favorable in the revenue bonds, and that can change. So it is a fluid situation.
We were the deadline for full compliance, I believe, was 2023.
2026.
Okay, you did ask and got an extension on that?
No, but I mean the consent decree is broken up in different phases and stages and different procedures that we have to do.
So it's going to be done by 2026. You're confident?
Yes.
Okay.
Burns and McDonnell, Kansas City, Missouri. They're overseeing the consent decree. You feel like this is a long term. This is not some fly-by-night, just dating you for a couple of weeks deal. This is the company we're going to be in place for a while.
Yeah, they're the real deal. They're very experienced. I'm very confident in them. I'm very impressed with everything we've done so far, and they've followed through with everything that they've said.
Opened a local office and hiring how many people?
They're not opening a local office. The way they explain it to me is that they're not going to open a local office. They don't intend to stay here. The market share when the consent decree is done, they're not interested in taking some of the market share from the local engineers. They're here for this big project, and when the big project's over, Burns and McDonnell will be gone. They do have other team members that are smaller companies, Louisiana companies that are here, and they'll be opening up offices.
In other words, they're kind of farming it out a little bit to local folks as necessary. Okay.
Fair share involvement. And was that a big discussion you guys had?
It's a high percentage, almost 50%. I think they're right around 48% in this contract with fair share participation, which is great.
So that'll be local businesses perhaps that are in the fair share program.
Louisiana and Shreveport businesses. Yep. That
is awesome. Is there anything else that folks need to know about the consent decree? Because I know you wanted to clear some things up and make sure we had everything out on the table.
Yeah, so phase 2 is wrapping up, and phase 3 is about to start getting together. And
how many phases are there?
There's 5. There's 5 phases, which 5 basins.
So we're more than halfway done.
And then a capacity phase.
No, 5. No, you said start in phase 3.
That's correct.
Okay.
And if you got 5 phases, that's more than halfway done.
You got a point. Yeah.
Now, 2.5. I can do this math.
I'm not good at math. Yeah.
No, not today.
So what are we going to see? What is the public going to see over the next couple of? We've seen those orange barrels everywhere.
You've seen them everywhere. These sewer mains, they're in people's backyards, front yards, around businesses. It can be a nuisance, the construction to all the citizens. And we're going to try and minimize that and do a better job at communicating with the citizens and coordinating.
One criticism you guys get, and I know you hear it all the time, is that we go in and fix a road, and then we come back 6 months or 8 months later, and then we dig it back up because that's when we're going in on that phase to fix the sewer problems.
Yeah.
Are we better coordinating those sorts of things?
We are. Before there's a road project, we're coordinating with the sewer folks. We're coordinating with the private utilities, SWEPCO, CenterPoint, AT&T. We're coordinating with everybody to make sure nobody has any scheduled work coming up. Now, there is always the fluke of an emergency. We overlay a road, and then 2 months later, somebody has an emergency, and they have no option but to dig it up. And
right.
We try and minimize that the best we can.